Hello, viewers and listeners. Today, we will be discussing on a very important topic on life skills. And today, to discuss this with us is Dr. Grace Don Nimching from the School of Extension and Development Studies. Welcome, Dr. Grace.
Thank you, Dr. Nisha.
So, without wasting much of your time, let us right away start with Dr. Grace. And Dr. Grace, we would like to ask you, what do you mean by life skills?
Dr. Nisha, when we talk about life skills are skills which a person possess. They are the ability or the capacity which a person has to face the challenges of life. These skills can be personal, it can be social, as well as occupational skills. So, when we are talking about life skills on a personal basis, when we are talking about a person having personal skills, it could mean a person who is able to cook. It could mean a person who is able to drive. It could mean a person who goes to the bank and is able to open an account. So, these are personal skills which enables a person to perform his daily activities very efficiently. So, this is what is meant by personal skills. On another level, when we are talking about life skills in terms of with regard to social skills, these are skills which helps a person to have an effective communication. It leads to what is called social skills leads to better interpersonal relationship. When you have better interpersonal relationship with others, it leads to uh, high self-esteem. It leads to a lot of confidence. It leads to the person being productive. So this is on a social level, that is skills a person possess on a social level, that is social skills. When we are talking about life skills with regard to occupational skills, it means the skills that a person has when he's working, when she's working in the capacity of an employee or an employer, which makes the work productive. So, Dr. Nisha, when we are talking about life skills are skills which an individual possess the ability or the capacity of a person to perform his duties, activities better, to face his or her challenges in life better. When we are talking about life skills is defined by one of the documents in CBSC, and this document says that discusses that life skills include psychosocial competencies and interpersonal skills that help people make informed decisions, solve problems, think critically and creatively, communicate effectively, build healthy relationship, empathize with others, and cope with managing their lives in a healthy and productive manner. So, this more or less sums up what life skills is all about. So, this is what is meant by life skills.
Thank you, Dr. Grace, for that very comprehensive definition of life skills, and thank you for telling us what all skills involve. And having known what is meant by life skills, could you throw some light on what is the importance of life skills?
When we are talking about the importance of life skills, we as individuals, we as members of the society, we require skills in order to survive. Without having skills, we cannot survive, because skills can be a very basic skill. If you know how to drive, it makes your life better, because you do not have to depend on at times means of transport may not be available. You may be late for office, you may not be able to reach the place in time, you may have an emergency meeting. So having the ability to drive will save you from all this chaotic situation. Then cooking is also a skill which is very basic. If you have the ability to cook, it means you will not starve. I know some people will say, even if we don't know how to cook, we can always order. But how much will you order? If you have the basic skill to cook, then it makes your life so much better. These are very basic example of life skills. The importance of life skills is that it helps individual to explore alternatives. It improves interpersonal communication and relationship. Let me briefly explain this particular point. When you have interpersonal communication, this improves the relationship with others. Your relationship with others improve because of your because you have effective interpersonal communication. A lot of time, and a lot of time, because of miscommunication, people may stop talking. Because of misunderstanding, people may have a negative attitude towards you. So it is very important that one should have what is called a good interpersonal relationship, interpersonal communication with others. The importance of life skills is that it improves effective communication with others, because we are human beings who live in a society. We cannot live alone, we cannot survive alone, we do not live in an isolated place. So it is very important that we communicate with others. So this is a very important aspect of life skill, which is it helps to improve interpersonal communication and relationship. It also improves self-esteem and self-confidence. For example, when we talk to others, when we have friends, when we have companions, a lot of confidence develop. There is a level of confidence you have when you have friends, you have people around you. If you do not have friends, if you do not have someone to talk to, then it can lead to depression. You can have a low self-esteem. So life skills also improve self-esteem. It also leads to self-confidence. Self-confidence and self-esteem is a very important life skill. It helps you better function as a member of the society. Life skill also develops social awareness. When we are talking about social awareness, let me tell you, dear viewers and learners, that life skills covers broad issues, broad areas of life. When we are talking about life skills, when we are talking about social awareness, the importance of life skills is that it helps you to improve your social awareness. It helps you to develop social awareness. Social awareness in terms of what are the social problems which is existing in the society. How will you solve these social problems? For example, what are the violence which is committed against women, against children? How do you prevent these crimes? Also in areas of education, in areas of health, how to improve health, how to improve sanitation, and also in areas of drug abuse, or in areas of HIV, AIDS, in areas of so many others, other environmental issue as well. So social skills help to develop what is called social awareness, and also it helps to improve decision making ability. When we are talking about life skills, this is also another important factor. The importance of life skills is that it improves decision making ability. At times you may be caught in a situation wherein you have to make a decision in split of a second. You may not have time to make decision. So you need at that moment to make the best decision. It may be for your family, it could be for the place where you work, it could be for the society or the neighborhood. So uh, life skills helps to make a good decision making. It helps you to it helps you to provide solution. It helps you to make the best decision, which would be for the common good of all. And also, like I said before, it also helps to face challenges of life. It helps you to improve your day-to-day functioning. And also, life skills importance of life skill is that it also helps you to it helps you in time management. When we are talking about time is one factor which never waits for anyone. We say that what is lost the time that is lost never comes back. So life skills tells you the importance of time management. It tells you how to set your goals. It tells you how to achieve these goals within the how to utilize your time at the optimum level. And also it helps you to improve your social skills. Like I said before, if you have good interpersonal relations with others, then your social skills will improve. You'll have friends, you will have companions, all these leads to what is called self-esteem, self-confidence, and also social and also life skills. Other than social skills, also it helps you to improve your management skills. So there are many ways by which or through which the importance of life skills is always reflected through your working in your day-to-day activity. It could be in the school where you are studying, in the college, in the university, in the place where you're working, or it could be in your neighborhood, within your family members, and so on and so forth. So these are the important or the importance of life skills.
Thank you, Dr. Grace, for letting us know what life skill is and telling us that how important life skills are in order to achieve our short term and long term goals, and how they help in bettering our life, bettering the quality of life that we lead. Thank you so much for that. And could you now tell us how can life skills be imparted in a classroom setup?
Right. Dr. Nisha, when we are talking about life skills, a person spends the early years of his whole life in a classroom setting. So it is very important that the teacher or the educator imparts life skills. And how are these life skills imparted? Life skills is very important for the teachers in order that the students in the class or the students in the school grow up and they have these life skills to lead a better life, a better quality of life, like you said. So how do these teachers or these educators, educationists impart life skills in the classroom? One of the way by which life skills can be imparted in the classroom is through lecture, through discussion. Lecture or discussion is a very conventional way of imparting life skills. A teacher will tell the students, the learners, about how important life skills is. So this would be a lecture in the classroom setting, which is a very conventional way of imparting life skills in the classroom. Then also life skills can be imparted through group discussion and group work. When you give work or when you divide your classroom, your students into group, then a lot of a lot of discussion takes place within the group. They are able to show their creativeness. They are able to go for analytical thinking, critical thinking. This is one of the aspect of life skill, which is creative thinking, critical thinking. Then group work also leads to better communication, effective communication, because when at times there are students who are very shy, students who are knowledgeable, students who are intelligent, but they may be very shy to speak on a one-to-one basis with the teacher. So when you give them a topic to be discussed in a group, when you give them group work, then their creativity will shine, then they will have better effective communication with others, then a lot of creativity will shine through. Another way by which you can impart life skills in a classroom setting is through role play. Role play in terms of you tell a student to play the part of a very famous figure, a figure who has shaped Indian society, because we are Indians, so we can tell our students, we can tell them to, let's say, play the role of our former president, Dr. APJ Kalam, how his ways of thinking, how his innovation, his work has helped build up India. And has made India progress in the scientific field, and so on and so forth. A lot of a lot of life skills can be imparted through role play. When you ask teacher when you the teacher asks the students to play the role of famous figures who have led to India being such a successful democratic country. Then through case study as well. Case studies also help to impart life skills, because through case studies you are able to study the life of a particular person who have achieved so much in life. Through the case study of a person, the teacher can the teacher can discuss how a person's particular life, through his hard work, through his creative thinking, has led to his or her achieving success. That is talking the case study of a person, talking about the life story of a person. As well as storytelling is also another aspect, how life skills in classroom can be imparted. When we are talking about storytelling, we can as a teacher, the teacher can ask the students to write a story, and through this story, students will be able to they can lead to a lot of creative thinking. The students uh, can bring out many ideas in the storytelling. So through storytellings, through story writing, it could be orally, it could be written. By through storytelling, a lot of creativity, a lot of critical thinking uh, can be brought out. And also brainstorming is also another way by which life skills can be imparted in the classroom. Brainstorming is when you are given a particular topic, and you ask your students, your learners, to discuss about that particular topic. That is brainstorming. And a lot of critical thinking, a lot of decision making ability may shine through, and can definitely shine through brainstorming. So Dr. Nisha, these are some of the ways by which you can impart life skills through or in the classroom.
So, thank you for quickly running us through the different ways by which life skills can be imparted in a classroom setup. When we speak of life skills, we generally hear of two very important theories, that is, the social learning theory and the risk and resilience theory. Could you throw some light on these two theories?
When we are talking about social learning theory, this particular theory was propounded by Albert Bandura. According to Albert Bandura, what he says is, people are living in the environment, therefore, human behavior should be studied in social context rather than in the laboratory. When he's talking about this particular theory, Albert Bandura says that there are four very important pillars, four very important process by which an individual, by which a human being is able to absorb the behavior of others, and or is able to imitate the behavior of others and reproduce this behavior. That is, from the name itself, social learning, you learn through observing others, and there are four very important pillars and process. Albert Bandura talks about these four pillars. These are attention, retention, and reproduction, as well as motivation. When Albert Bandura talks about these four pillars, what he says is, the first point, attention. When you see, or when you pay attention to the behavior of others, because he says that human beings are living in a social environment, you have to study them in the social context. A lot of times, most of the times in fact, the beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors of others influence you. So when you pay attention to someone's behavior, when you pay attention, if you are not distracted, then you are able to observe that person behavior if you are paying attention, then you can always know what the person, how that person is behaving. This is what is meant by attention. Then retention. When you see a person's behavior, when you pay attention to the person behavior, a lot of time uh, social learning does not take place immediately. What happens is social learning takes place over a period of time, and over a period of time you have to remember, you have to retain that behavior you have seen before. If you have paid attention enough to that behavior of the person, then you are able to retain that behavior. Let me give you an example. uh, the way a teacher behaves in the class, the way your father or mother behaves in the class. If you have been paying attention to the way the teacher behaves in the class, let's say the teacher is a very polite teacher, is a teacher who is, who does not make fun of anyone, who is good to all the students irrespective of whether the students is intelligent or not, or when a person or the child sees the parents behaving in a very polite cordial manner, and if the student or the child has been paying attention to such kind of behavior, then the student or the child is able to retain these behavior in his life itself, and he is going to follow these behavior. Then we have what is called follow this behavior in terms of the another very important pillar is reproduction. After paying attention, after knowing that this is how the particular person has behaved, you are able to retain the behavior of that person, then you are able to reproduce that person behavior. This is called reproduction. Attention, retention, reproduction, and the third after the third pillar, you have what is called motivation. You would want to imitate the behavior of someone if you are motivated. This motivation can be in the form of reward. It could be in the form of, something positive. You feel that something positive will come out of this behavior. So this is what is called by this is what Albert Bandura talks about social learning theory. Dr. Nisha, another theory that you have asked is the risk and resilience theory. When we are talking about the risk and resilience theory, there are certain risks in your life that you face as an individual, in the context of your family, in the context of the environment in which you are living, environment in terms of the office or the school. Let me give you an example. As an individual, there are certain risk factors that you face. An individual may be isolated because the individual does not have any friend, the individual does not have any companion, the individual is very isolated, he lives alone, he does not talk to anyone. So the risk factor involved here would be this: the individual may abuse substances, may, because he's isolated, he does not has have friend, he may look for he may look for happiness by using substances, by abusing substances. He or she may have what is called social social isolation would lead him or her to low self-esteem, and this risk factors would lead to a lot of problem. However, when we are talking about this risk factor as an individual, there are certain protective factors which enhances or which improves what is called resilience. When an individual has risk factors of, not having friends, is socially isolated, because of which he wants to find happiness by abusing substances or would go for risky sexual behaviors, there are certain protective factors which would lead to resilience of that individual. For example, if this individual leads a healthy life in terms of, practicing yoga, meditation, exercising, or this person starts going out, or he speaks to people, he communicate with others, or he speaks to someone who lives near him, or he starts chatting, because these days we have a lot of technology in our hand. A person can, start chatting on WhatsApp or through Facebook. There are so many ways by which this person can reduce his social isolation. So this is uh, what is meant by risk and resilience. As an individual, you have certain risks, but there are certain protective factors which enhances your resilience. Then let me give you another example. When in a family there are certain risk factors, let's say the family members, the parents neglect the children, they do not pay much attention to the children, or the children do not feel very close to their parents. These are certain risk factors which are involved as a family, and the family is not happy, the family keeps fighting, and a lot of problems emerges between the family, the parents in the family and the children. These are the risk factor as a family. But the protective factors to enhance this resilience in the family is that the parents should involve the children more in the decision making process. This will help the children feel a part of the family. They'll feel very happy. They will feel that yes, we are part of the family, and we are being productive in the family. So this will lead to a lot of children being happy about the situation that the parents have asked them to be productive and to be part of the family decision. This will keep them happy. And also, family as a family, family activity should be organized. It could be just having dinner in one meal, for sitting together for dinner, watching television as a family, and so many other factors. So this is what is meant by risk and resilience theory.
Thank you, Dr. Grace, for letting us know these two very important theories of life skill. In social learning theory, you explained to us how a person can learn a lot by paying attention to his or her surroundings, and then how that person can imbibe some good qualities and replicate them or reproduce them in his or her own life. And you also talked about how high risk behaviors of individuals can be changed, and how those individuals can be made more resilient to those high risk behaviors by some actions taken by self, or some motivation or some help from the family members. Thank you so much for telling us about all these things. Dear viewers, today Dr. Grace discussed with us what is life skill, what is the importance of life skill, and how life skills can be imparted in a classroom setup. She also discussed with us two very important theories, that is the social learning theory and the risk and resilience theory. Thank you, Dr. Grace, for being with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nisha. Namaskar.
We wear clothes on a daily basis. But have we ever wondered, where do our clothes come from? Who makes our clothing? And who are the people and the process responsible for the whole manufacturing of our clothing? If you want to know more about this, Indira Gandhi National Open University from the School of Continuing Education has launched a program which is Certificate in Apparel Merchandising. There are many benefits after doing this program. You can become a designer in various fields. It can be fashion designer, apparel designer, costume designer, or even a textile designer. One can also work as a fashion consultant. Research and development is another field which one can take up after doing this certificate course. Going into academics is another perk after doing this program. Getting into fashion houses or fashion studios as an intern is also a very good option post doing the certificate in apparel merchandising. The basic eligibility of the program is 10 plus 2. The duration of the program is 6 months to 2 years. The program is also available for both the admission cycles, which is July and January. The exams are conducted twice a year, in June and December. So what are you waiting for? Join this program and get an enriching knowledge in the field of apparel merchandising. And to do so, you can log on to the official website of the university, www.ignou.ac.in.
Hello learners, welcome to this live teleconferencing session of Indira Gandhi National Open University. Today we are going to discuss a very pertinent topic, that is review of related literature from your MA education program. Before starting our discussion, let me to introduce myself. I, Dr. Niradhar De, faculty member, School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Welcome you all to this live teleconferencing session on my personal behalf and on behalf of my school, that is School of Education. Friends, as you know, this topic, that is review of related literature, has been taken from your popular program, that is MA Education, and particularly in this program, I'm just naming two different courses. One is MES 016, that is Educational Research, and another course is MESP 001, that is Dissertation. As you know, this program is a 2-year program. In the first year, you have to study 6 theory courses, that is MES 011, 012, 013, 014, 015 and 016. So here today's topic, that is review of related literature, has been taken from your theoretical course that is included in the first year of your program, that is MES 016, that is Educational Research. And further, when you will come to the second year, you have a practical oriented course that you can say the project component or the dissertation component of this program. The course code is MESP 001 and course title is Dissertation. So here you have to pursue a research, you have to do a dissertation and you have to write a report for that. So friends, the course of educational research that you have studied in the first year of your program, the theoretical construct, the theoretical understanding about different aspects of conducting educational research, and further how to implement the knowledge base, the concept that you have understood from the theoretical course, that is educational research, that you are supposed to apply when you will do the project work in the second year, when you will engage yourself in the dissertation course. Keeping in consideration of you can say the importance of doing the research, pursuing the dissertation work, writing the report, doing the field work, this topic that I have selected to discuss for this teleconferencing session, that is review of related literature. Here today in this session, let me to focus upon some of the important points that we will be discussing. Just like the discussion points are why review of related literature, then what is review of related literature, what are the sources of review of related literature, from where you will get the information, from where you will get the data, from what sources that you will get data for analyzing it and to reach at a research gap for doing your study or for providing certain newness to your research. So that is also another discussion point of the session. Then further, how to write the review of related literature. Then after understanding the very concept of review of related literature, then how to write the review of related literature when you will write your dissertation report, your project report. So that also we will be discussing in this session. Now let me to proceed further to understand why review of related literature, why there is the need, why there is the importance, why there is the justification of doing a type of review of the related literature of the studies that have been conducted earlier, that is very much related with your research that you have selected for your dissertation work in MA education program. First of all, this is to convey the readers about the work already done and the knowledge and ideas that have been already established on a particular topic of research. Then further, we do review of related literature to provide an insight to the researcher about the process and result of the study. Further, we also do the review of related literature to establish a gap of research and inconsistencies in a body of knowledge, and also to identification of a research problem, and it also helps to state research questions and objectives. So to summarize the points that I have mentioned here, I can say that you have selected a research problem for doing your dissertation work, and the work is not end here. Rather, after identifying the research area or selecting a research problem, you should find out, you should engage yourself to know the detailed status of that research problem. That means what are the different studies that have been conducted earlier, and what are the studies that have not been conducted yet. So when you will analyze the studies that have been conducted earlier, you will get a clear-cut idea about the concept of that study, about the processes that has been adopted for conducting that study, and you will find out that what is the very result of the studies that have been conducted earlier, and whether the results are consistent results. That means when you will analyze, you can select 50 studies you have analyzed in review of related literature which is connected, which is related to your study. So when you will analyze, you will find whether the findings are consistent findings or inconsistent findings. It means whether there are agreements between the research result, or there is no agreement between or disagreement between the research results. So that's why to know what has been done and the results that has been received, whether unanimously researchers are reaching at a point, reaching at a particular point, and whether they have generalized the findings or not, and if they have not generalized, if there is certain gap, if there is certain inconsistencies, that will further prompt you, that will further help you that yes, there is a research gap, and for filling that gap, there is the need to pursue more research. There is the need to do a similar types of research in different context, in different areas, in different perspective. So for knowing all such things, that whether still there is the need of doing research in that area basing upon that problem or not. So to know a clear-cut idea, to know a clear-cut vision, to know a clear-cut, you can say, or to provide a dedicated, you can say, concept to your or newness to your research, you are supposed to go for a rigorous review of related literature. Unless you gather data, unless you gather information, unless you gather the research result that has been conducted earlier, then you cannot give newness, you cannot give innovativeness to your research or to your research problem that you have selected. Further, to understand more about why review of related literature, what is the need of it, I can touch upon some more points. Just like you may go through it to discover unanswered questions in research, then to avoid repetition of an earlier conducted study, and also identification of a strong theoretical conceptual framework of research problem, and it helps to decide the research methods, design, sample, tools used, and techniques of analysis of data. So try to understand. A proper review of related literature, it also equally helps the researcher to understand that what are the different questions, research questions you can say, which are unanswered from the earlier studies, from the earlier research. You can say that all the questions are answered, because you will find that many researchers, they might have come forward with a declaration of the result that they are not satisfied with certain findings, or the findings that has been received that is simply contradicting the theory, contradicting the theoretical construct relating to that area. Okay. So if the findings of the study is aligning with the theories, with the theoretical construct, it's good. And if it is not properly aligning, if it is contradicting the established theories and principles, that means the research problem is still, you can say it is still a problem. That problem has not absolutely solved. So here there is the need that you are supposed to go for a rigorous review of related literature, rigorous analysis of the studies that has been conducted earlier, and that will provide you a clear-cut idea that what processes that has been adopted for conducting the study. And particularly if I will say that what research questions were stated in the earlier studies relating to the problem, to the same problem that you have selected, and further how the objectives have been framed, and further how the hypotheses are stated, and what types of tools that has been used, whether standardized tools are used, or whether self-made tools are used, or whether you can say qualitatively the study has been conducted, or quantitatively the study has been conducted, and further how the data have been analyzed, what statistical techniques, if it is a quantitative study, what statistical techniques have been used for analyzing the data to reach at the findings. So friends, where you will get all such information? These informations you will get from review of related literature. And many a time I receive your queries, your questions. You asked about that from where you will get the studies, or from what are the different sources that you will be using for getting the studies that have been conducted earlier, which is related to your research, which is related to your research problem, and accordingly you have to analyze it, and you have to reach at the research gap, and accordingly you have to fill that gap through your research. So further we will be discussing that many sources that at the present time you cannot limit yourself only in your library, rather you can use many other sources also. We will be discussing further. Now to touch upon the very concept that what is review of related literature. After discussing its need, let me to focus upon what does it mean, what is the review of related literature, what is the very concept of it. Review of related literature is one of the most important steps of research process that we conduct in education or other discipline also. It is an account of what is already known about a particular phenomena. Then review of related literature is a comprehensive summary of previous research on a topic, and it is a literature review, is a body of text that aims to review the critical points of knowledge on a particular topic of research. So friends, review of related literature engages the researchers, and this is a step of conducting a study and writing a research report, that you should have a clear-cut idea about the research problem. Okay, and how you will get the clear-cut idea about the research problem? Unless you go through, unless you analyze the studies that have been conducted earlier. So that's why review of related literature says that you have to do a very good content analysis. You have to examine the studies that have been conducted earlier, and the studies may be a government report, the studies may be a master dissertation, the studies may be a MPhil, or you can say a PhD thesis also, and the study may be a type of encyclopedia, may be any research article, research paper which is published in any journal. And nowadays you will find that many sources which is available in online platform. You can say that that is the OER, open educational resources, or other types of publications also. It may be a book also. So varieties of resources are there, and to understand the review of related literature, you should understand your research first, and to adopt a dedicated and adopt a very systematic process for conducting your study. You are supposed to involve yourself, you are supposed to engage yourself, understanding the studies, the steps that has been you can say adopted earlier, the processes that had been followed for conducting such type of study, or the researchers who have conducted study in such type of problem. Further, to understand about what are the different sources of review of related literature, primarily we can say that there are two different sources that as a scholar, as a student, that we use to get data that we call as the review of related literature for our study. One is the primary source and other is the secondary source. Particularly, if I'll go through different sources that we use, just like you see on your screen, different sources. First, I can focus upon the published thesis. Friends, many a time you ask me the question that where you will get the data, where you will get the research, and how you will know that how many studies have been conducted, and how many what are the different area, what are the different problem, what are the different aspect, even if in a problem, research problem that has not studied yet, that has not touched yet in research. And many a time you are saying that no studies is available in the area or in the topic that you have selected. It is not true exactly. If you really explore and exercise yourself to find out the reviews, to find out the studies that have been conducted, definitely you will find many studies. It may be within the country, it may be outside the country, that have been conducted. So that's why the first source that I can say, that is the published thesis. So friends, if you go to your university, go to your library, you will find that many master dissertation, many MPhil and PhD dissertation, many project reports that are available in the library. So what you can do, you can just go through the catalog and go through. If you are getting a similar types of title that is relating to your study, relating to your topic that you have selected for your study, you can go through it, and you can get a clear-cut idea that how the study have been conducted, how the data have been collected, what are the different tools and techniques that have been used for getting data, and how sampling process have been done, how the population has been defined, and from the population how a sample has been selected, and what are the different sampling methods that have been considered and that has been used for selecting sample from the population. So that's why if you go through the published thesis which is available in your library, and nowadays let me to give an example in Sodh Ganga. This is the initiation of University Grants Commission, Government of India, Ministry of Education. You will find that many research, many PhD theses that have been kept there. That is a huge archive, you can say, and that is across the discipline, in education, teacher education, in sociology, psychology, science, in any discipline. You will find that thousands of PhD theses that have been archived and that have been kept, that have been stored there. What you can do, simply by typing the title of your study, you can find out the related studies that have been conducted and which is listed in the Sodh Ganga. That you can do. And you can also use many online sources that we will be discussing further. So one of the source is the published thesis, the thesis that has been submitted, and further the thesis that have been awarded, and after awarded that has been published. So many a time you will find that the PhD thesis, the master dissertation, and other dissertation also, that has been published in a book form, and that is available online or it is available in book form also in hard copies. So if you are getting the published thesis, then you should go through it and you should get a clear-cut idea that how researcher X, researcher Y or the earlier researcher have conducted their study in the particular area, and how you are going to give a new shape, give a new or doing certain innovative work in your research. Again, another source is that's called as the research journal, and nowadays you will find that it may be UGC listed journal or it may be many other journals also. You will find that many dedicated journals are there which is based upon certain themes. It may be secondary education, it may be primary education, it may be research in education, it may be ICT in education, it may be artificial intelligence, it may be any other areas also. It may be higher education, it may be pedagogy, it may be, you can say, constructivism. So nowadays you will find that dedicated research journals are there on a particular theme. So what you will be doing, the topic that you have selected for conducting your research, the research problem that you have selected for conducting your study, you are supposed to search the dedicated journals. And after searching the journals, you should go through the studies, particular articles that have been published in that journal. And there you will find a clear-cut abstract about the detailed study that have been done by others earlier and which has been published in a article form, in a research paper form, or you can say in a research abstract form. So from there also you will get a clear-cut idea that how this study have been conducted, and that will give you enough insight for bringing newness to your study. And further, website and encyclopedia. Friends, if you can go through many website, it may be a university website, it may be National Institute website, it may be research organization, research institute website, and it may be any other research foundation website also. So when you will go through the website, you will find that in the website many a time the research papers and the published work you will find there in a section that has been archived. So what you can do, you can go through the related work or the documents that has been kept in the university website, or at the same time in encyclopedia also. Many a time you are not understanding a very the concept of a term, the concept of a terminology that has been used in your study, or you want to know detail about its connotation, detail about the application of certain terms and terminologies. So what you can do, you can go through the encyclopedia to know the very concept and to know how a variable is related with other variable, and to know about detailed knowledge, detailed information about certain variables. Further, government reports and documents is also another source. So here if you will go through the Ministry of websites and documentation section, you will find that many government documents, it may be related with education, it may be related with you can say children of differently able or other types of inclusive education, other themes also. You will find that many government reports and government documents are also archived. So that also help you, that also work you as one of the reviews for your research work. And further, conference proceeding is also another source. Conference proceedings, you will find that many seminars, workshop and conferences are conducted across the country or globally also on different themes. If the theme is related with your work, simply what you can do, you can just go through the conference proceedings and you will find that number of research papers that has been published in the conference proceedings. So that also equally help you to understand the status of your research problem, that what has been done and what has not been done, and from there you can also get a clear-cut research gap, and that gap will help you to give certain newness to your study. And for the newspaper and periodical, so everyday newspaper, you many a time you must have gone through it, and many a time such type of news are also come to daily newspaper and the weekly periodicals about certain unique research findings related to any aspect, maybe related to sociology of education, maybe related to psychology of education, or different perspectives of education. And from there you can get certain insights, certain knowledge, certain information, certain data that may help you for your study, to understand your study, then accordingly to give a clear-cut concept for adopting a dedicated process for your study. Then books, of course, is another review of related literature. It may be e-book, or it may be the books of relating to the variables, relating to different aspects that you are going to address in your study. And further, VR and internet-based sources is also another important source. So nowadays you will find that you can take the example of Commonwealth of Learning, you can take the example of UNESCO, World Bank. You will find that they are publishing very good documents, and almost all the documents you will find that is in the form of OER, Open Educational Resources. Okay, that is free of any type of plagiarized issue, so that you can also use for your study. So that's why you can just explore what are the different OER, Open Educational Resources, are available globally, which is related to certain concept of your study. So that can be examined, that can be studied, and further that can be used for your research. And accordingly, other electronic sources that you will be using, you will be exploring for getting a clear-cut idea about the studies that have been conducted earlier. Now, let me to focus upon very briefly how to write the review of related literature for your master dissertation in MA Education dissertation work. Let me to point out some of the steps. First is search for relevant literature. You have to use different sources, and you have to search that what are the relevant literature which is really related with the themes, with the topic, with the problem that you have selected for your study. And further, evaluate the sources. Again, you have to understand clearly that yes, the sources that you are using as review of related literature, that is really a genuine source, that's not a fraud source. So that decision you have to take. Then identify themes and the gaps. Then after getting the reviews, you have to go through it, and you have to find out the gaps. Then outline the structure. You have to clarify about a structure, that how you will write the review of related literature. What are the different information that's supposed to address in the reviews when you are getting a study and writing it and placing it, reporting it in your study. And for the write your literature, and for the next work is to write it. Now let me to go through that how you will write a good literature. A good literature review doesn't just summarize the sources, but it analyzes, systematizes, and critically evaluates to give a clear picture of the state of knowledge on the subject, identify the gaps, and provide a direction for the research. And here let me to focus upon certain directions that how you have to write the review of related literature in your study. First of all, you have to mention the authors, the name of the author and year of the study, nature and level of the study, title of the research or the book or the report or the study that you have examined, then methodology or the design of research that has been used. It is optional, but if it is possible, you can do that. Then major findings related to the present research. So what is the major findings? I am just giving one example, just like here you see day 2009, day is the name here, 2009 is the year, conducted a PhD study on study habits of high achieving CBSE and state board students of secondary school examination. This is the title. The study reported that the high achieving students, irrespective of their boards, were very laborious and spending around 7 hours a day in studies apart from their regular school hours. Around 75% of high achieving students were participating in private tutorials or coaching. They were spending 2 to 3 hours in coaching and private tutorials. So here you have to take pertinent findings which is related to your study. So accordingly, no need of taking all the findings, but the important findings definitely you have to include. Then accordingly, by analyzing all the findings, you have to reach at the research gap. So friends, today we discussed review of related literature. In our next session on any other day, we will be discussing on any other aspect of your dissertation work, of your research work. Thank you.
Do you wish to be part of a television studio like this or any other media system? Or already part of any media system, want to enhance a new set of skills? Welcome to School of Journalism New Media Studies. Here in the School of Journalism New Media Studies, we are offering program for all set of people to learn and enhance their media skills. The vision of School of Journalism and New Media Studies is to generate a new set of professionals in the area of media and communication studies with understanding about role of media in the national development and global understanding. We offer innovative programs in the field of journalism and mass communication that sets the benchmark of high quality learning and teaching process at the national level. We offer these programs across the country with the help of our regional network as well as study center. Same manner, many of our programs are offered through online mode with a sophisticated learning management system. SOGNMS offers programs from PhD in journalism and mass communication till certificate level. We have masters in journalism and mass communication. The eligibility is a bachelor's degree, and we are introducing this program in 3 languages: Hindi, Tamil and English. Students from national and international students can join either through online mode as well as in the distance mode. We have 4 postgraduate diploma programs, specialized areas in the field of development communication, digital media, electronic media and journalism and mass communication program. And all these 4 programs are available in distance mode. 2 programs are available in online mode, development communication and digital media. And we have specialized certificate program in community radio. IGNOU employs various media and communication tools for better teaching and learning process. School of Journalism and New Media Studies utilizes this media system for delivering all our programs. Come and join with us for exploring a new career and enhance your media skills.
Welcome viewers. I'm sure all the registered student, those who have taken a registration for this CFD program, that is Certificate in Fashion Design program, are viewing this program. In addition to all the viewers, I welcome once again to all of you. As you have seen on screen today, topic for discussion is Introduction to Fashion Industry. And why we have chosen this particular session on this topic, because our fresh students as well as those viewers who are planning to register for this program, they might be aware why this program is important, and because not only the topic for discussion but at the same time for getting employability perspective. So once again, this topic for discussion is your part of the program of Certificate in Fashion Design program. मैं आशा करता हूँ सभी viewers और students, particularly those who already registered this program, have received our study materials and have gone through our all self-learning materials. If not, they might have downloaded from our web page from EGNOU. We also assumed in the last discussions our induction program, we apprised to all of you what is the teaching learning process for this particular program. एज इन्फॉर्म्ड इट इज़ क्वाइट पॉसिबिलिटी कि काफ़ी बच्चे जो इस प्रोग्राम को देख रहे हैं वो फर्स्ट टाइम आए होंगे, और जो ऑलरेडी रजिस्टर्ड हैं, जिन्होंने पहले इस इंडक्शन प्रोग्राम में पार्टिसिपेट किया है, उनके लिए एक फिर मैं रिफाइन करना चाहूँगा इन्फॉर्मेशन कि ये टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस हमारा ओपन एंड डिस्टेंस लर्निंग मोड है, और इसका जो काउंसलिंग सेशंस होती हैं वो रीजनल सेंटर, स्टडी सेंटर एट वेल हेडक्वार्टर्स लाइक अस, वी आर हेयर इन दिस प्लेटफॉर्म फॉर ज्ञान दर्शन एंड रेडियो प्रोग्राम फ्रॉम ज्ञानवाणी। काफ़ी क्वेरीज बच्चों ने पूछा है कि असाइनमेंट्स नहीं मिल रही हैं, दैट इज़ आल्सो अपलोडेड और आवर ई ज्ञान कोश और असाइनमेंट वेब पेज, दैट इज पोर्टल www.ignou.ac in. So let me discuss with you today. Discussion topic is introduction to fashion industry. This is part course 3 of your program, और इस प्रोग्राम के जो 3 ब्लॉक्स हैं, हमारा जो अभी जैसे पिछले प्रोग्राम में हमने आपको बताया और जो प्रोग्राम गाइड आपको मेल की गई है, जिसमें हमने ये बताया कि कोर्स, प्रोग्राम्स एंड देन ब्लॉक्स एंड देन यूनिट्स. Structure is like this. Program is certificate in fashion design program, and course is introduction to fashion industry, you see. And then we have 3 blocks of this particular course, and that is block 1, understanding of fashion industry, which we'll be discussing today in depth. And block 2 is on fashion markets, and block 3 is on fashion retailing. In addition, for today's discussion, some of our sessions already available or IGNOU web page you can download, or EMPC platform or our SOVT platform, that is YouTube available. But today's discussion is block 1, that is understanding of fashion industry. Why you are coming to register for this particular program, and what is the employability perspective, that is very important for all vocational programs. That's why हमने आज के प्रोग्राम में ये जो टॉपिक चूज़ किया है फैशन इंडस्ट्री, इस टॉपिक में जो ब्लॉक 1 है वो है अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ फैशन इंडस्ट्री, जिसमें 4 यूनिट हैं. ये पूरा कोर्स 4 क्रेडिट्स है, और 4 क्रेडिट्स में 3 ब्लॉक्स हैं. ब्लॉक 1 में 4 यूनिट हैं, जिसके ऊपर हम अभी आप डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. यूनिट 1 विच विल बी डिस्कसिंग अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड सोर्सेज ऑफ फैब्रिक, एंड यूनिट 2 विल बी डिस्कसिंग ऑन कॉन्सेप्ट एंड प्रिंसिपल ऑफ टेक्सटाइल फाइबर्स, and unit 3, that is growth of global fashion industry, and unit 4 on fashion global Indian industry. So my dear friends, why we have discussed it, because the industry, you must know what are the employment opportunities, not the concern. Concern is ki employability skill requirement by the industry, that is why we are discussing today. But before that, let us see unit 1 discussion. Unit 1 discuss understanding of sources of fabrics. We expect after studying this unit or attending this session, you will be able to understand the purpose of fabric sourcing in the fashion design industry. You will be also able to differentiate various kinds of fabrics based on different yarns, structures and process of manufacture. And you will be also apply the various steps in the fabric source process, because this type of skills require while recruiting enterprises or industry their employee, and they see this kind of skills. That's why we have incorporated that steps, and then to identify and define the commonly used terms and preparing fabric specification. This is unit 1. Unit also discuss the importance of fabrics sourcing. This unit basically giving introduction. You should have a accessibility skills. You know what are the fabric sourcing, and that is we explain, and this particular unit explain the fabric is an essential raw materials for the fashion industry. And you see, as an employee or as a learner, after completion of this program of certificate in fashion design program, you should have a skills on to understand the fabric sector, which will be benefited from both significant technology developments, particularly an area of man-made fibers and traditional fibers and ethnic clothing. You should have a knowledge and understanding on this area. The fashion industry is always in search of the most appropriate fabrics for design and construction of new fashion garments. When you have an in-depth knowledge of the fashion and fabric sourcing, then you will be able to apply your fashion design techniques. That is why we have taken this particular course and unit. Unit further explain that fabrics are the buildings blocks of fashion design. The question may be asked, what are fabrics? How will you explain? The unit have explained the basic conceptual framework You go through study material, we have given illustrations and also self-check exercises which are giving in-depth knowledge and understanding of these particular fabrics. And number 2 point is the why we need this for fabrics. Fabrics functional requirement include factor like suitability of different fabric climate conditions. You can't wear woolen clothes on during summer or summer cotton during winter. Therefore, the functional requirement include factors like suitability to different climate conditions, season or tensile strength of the fabrics. Did it cope up with the physical movement of the body or literally, because necessity for maintaining body comfort is very important, and whatever weather conditions are there, you see, if I am comfortable during winter in woolen products, and then you see the where you are comfortable, it is not necessity to, you are comfortable all woolen products. So what is suitability, you have to see this type of discussion explained by the expert while writing this unit, and this unit has been contributed significantly by an industry expert and academia. And then we've come out the suitability. When we explain, they are explain the methods of fabric constructions, and this unit further highlighted on the weaving and knitting and non-woven fabrics. So what is weaving? These plan wave or twill wave or certain weave, because we you should know the in-depth knowledge on these three type of weaving. And then knitting, as a learners you will see the knitting is very important to warp up knitting and weft knitting. So non-woven fabrics is filtering and braiding. This type of methods of fabric construction explained in this unit. When you are going through and study this unit, and we expect ki before coming to attending this session, whatever session is there in counseling sessions or through these methods, you have gone through our self-learning materials and study yourself and come out the any doubt. That's why we are expecting more questions. I think all the viewers and learners, those who registered this program, we have mailed before that for this program, and we expect more questions from you of particularly this conceptual framework of any topic of unit 1 or 2 of this block. Now we also see in unit 2, because when we are discussing this block, I said earlier that this block contains of 4 units, and for unit 1 we explain the fabrics and the concept and principle of textile. You should also know what are the learning outcome of this particular unit, and we explain in depth. You have to identify and define a textile fiber. You should have knowledge in depth. You should also classify an essential characteristic of all textile fibers. Now it is you have this conceptual framework. The most important part learning outcome is the third one, that is how you apply these methods for identifying different type of textile fibers. How you will identify, that is important. And during the time of recruitment at industry or your own production, if you are going to start your own outlet, you should have in-depth knowledge of these applications or methods to identify different types of textile fibers, and that is we explain with the illustrations. And now we also unit explain further what are the textile fibers. Basic conceptual framework, that is fiber is what the fabrics are made for. Textile fibers, that is in distinction for the suitability of the conventions into fabrics, or textile fibers are microscope hair like substances with complexity, high ratio of length to width that helps in spinning them into yarn or bonding them together, creating fabric directly. This type of textile fiber we explain, and we have given the pictures also in graphics in our study materials, and you have gone through. Now next point, which how you will classify the textile. As you see, this unit focus on the classification of textile. We have a natural fibers, man-made fibers, and we explain like natural fibers are vegetable fibers, and then animal fibers, then mineral fibers. How it has been constructed, you have to see, we are classified like this. Now man-made fabrics like regenerated fibers and synthetic fibers, we explain. The unit further explain primary and secondary properties of fibers, that is properties of fiber explained, and the last part of this unit discussed about the identification of textile fibers. So when you have in-depth knowledge of sources of fabrics and conceptual framework and principle of textile, now you are in a position to understand the industry, because industry to we are discussing here, fashion industry, and when you have a knowledge of this fabric and textile, and then in the second course what we discuss in pattern making or designing of the fashions, and as per the not your choice, as per the choice of the customer, for whom we are developing and producing the product. This product will be sale in the market. If your designing is more demanding, then your job will be more demanding. So in this way, we define the unit 3. This is very important, unit 3, that is growth of global fashion industry. And this is the third unit of this particular block. And we expect after studying this unit, you will be able to understand the genesis of the global fashion industry, and you will be also able to examine the trend of global fashion industry, and you, after studying this unit, tomorrow will be able to explain the employability aspects and skill gaps in fashion industry. These two aspects, last part is employability and skill gaps, we explain unit 3 and unit 4, that is global and Indian fashion industry. But in course 4 also, separate unit 13 and 14, we had given communication entrepreneurship, separate job opportunity as per the job roles. We will not discuss here. In the next session we will be discussing in detail, but at the moment, what are the industry, what type of jobs they are looking, we will discussing. You see, growth of fashion industry and every productions are there 3 type. What is productions, consumer and marketing. Productions, we require the labor skilled manpower, and industry required for production, these two aspects. For the production and the consumer trend of fashions, as I just said, we will not produce that product which is not demanded in the market. We have to see the customers and consumer taste, what type of liking and disliking they have, and they have to see. Third is consumptions, how many production unit you have produced and how many they have been demanded in the market. ये सब चीज़ें हमने इस यूनिट में एक्सप्लेन की हैं, और यूनिट जो एंड कर रहा है, द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ आवर दिस यूनिट इज डिस्ट्रीब्यूटिंग एंड बाइंग बिहेवियर, marketing perspective. So block 2 we will be discussing detail in the market segmentations and customer buying behavior. But in this unit, particularly this block 1 of this course 3, that is introduction to fashion industry perspective, is like this. Now if you see the genesis of the history of global fashion industry, if you see mid 19th century, clothing was custom made. You very interesting, we have given this information, and custom made and handmade for individual, either as home productions or on order from dressmakers, seamsters and tailors. As in today also in other part of our country, still people prefer to go man-made and or tailors made our clothing, but the fashion changing very fast across the globe, not only India, because people per capita income is increasing, and every customer, human beings, want the branded product and they are ready to pay. But all depends upon the availability and your role as a fashion designers. What type of liking, what type, it is not necessarily what I like the fashion product other people also follow. No, it varies from human beings to human beings, and most of the our young generations follow our all celebrities. It may be film actors or industry or cricketers. They see their wearing styles and fashion styles, they follow that. So as a fashion designer, and when you see the our history, because you are not producing the product for only one age group, so different age group people are there, and that is young kids, male, female and all old people like us. So we have also a choice. So that choice and taste kept in mind while when we are applying your fashion designing techniques. It who will tell? That will tell our own this unit and blocks what we are discussing. The course 3 and block 3 is the growth of global fashion industry. But when you go through beginning of the 20th century, you see the taste change. The new technologies such as swing machines come up, the rise of global capitalism, because due to that more product and more demanded fashion products are there in the across the globe. The development of the factory system of production clothing has increasingly come to be a mass produce in a standard size in all over the world. These are the changes before 19th century and beginning of the 20th century. All this fashion design products and demand and the production process, because of technology interventions काफ़ी सोशल नेटवर्क जैसे आज की डेट में है, और उस टाइम जो 21st सेंचुरी और 20th सेंचुरी में देखें, देयर इज ह्यूज चेंजेस इन द फैशन प्रोडक्ट्स and fashion industry, and all depend upon the retail outlet in the sea, such as departmental store and markets and online shopping at present scenario. If you see the present scenario, how this sale is there and provide a great purchase opportunity to the customer. Accessibility is there, technology intervention is there, social network is there, or all media programs are there. Any social network or television programs, they can access latest fashion product. In this way, this industry is growing very fast, and the unit also discuss the trend of global fashion industry, and we analyze Asian country contribute to 50% of the total global apparel export. And you see the Asian countries having more demand. If they are exporting this fashion product, it means they require more skilled manpower in textile and fashion products. And fashion industry is more labor intensive. You should know technology cannot, they can provide the ideology visualization, artificial intelligence coming up very fast, but human intervention, labor intensive techniques are being adopted in fashion industry as in today. And if you have a opportunity to visit the fashion industry, you see what kind of skilled people are performing their task at the respective outlet and garment. So the countries endowed with abundant labor power has a promising future for this sectorized growth. So there's a huge scope for employability because it is mushrooming in Asian country particularly. When we come sectors, we went in focus again to see the global fashion industry in globalizations. We are designing, manufacturing, distribution, retailing, and marketing. These four area, because one area of fashion jobs is designing, second in manufacturing, and then distribution, supply chain, and then retailing and marketing. If you see the opportunity, we found the apparel, footwear, and accessory sectors are more demanded manpower, and demand for pattern makers, designers, and experts of that fields is very much needed by this fashion industry. There is a scarcity, and I have read a report where the European country and fashion industry are facing lot of problems for finding the right skill manpower for this particular three area what I am discussing here. Now, it is not only Asian country or demanded this skill manpower in fashion industry, but in the global perspective also, European and Western part, if you see, also need the skill manpower in this sector. We come out again issues and challenge of this growth of the global fashion industry, that is skill orientation course. That is why we have given this skill, this certificate fashion design program is on major focus on skill orientations, what we have described the three area in the previous slide. Then you see the brand development, because this brand development is not only in India, in global scenario, every small countries is the people citizen of that and asking the brand product, and then business organizations who are selling and industry status. All industry are revamping, restructuring due to technological intervention and latent design. So the issues and challenges still there in global fashion industry, but we come out the last of the unit 4, that is growth of the Indian fashion industry. And this block what we are discussing, introduction to fashion industry, block 1, that is understanding of fashion industry. In that the fourth and last unit of this block is, that is how this industry be different from the global perspective, Indian fashion industry. We expect again after studying this particular unit, you will be able to describe Indian fashion industry. What is the status, what is the trend of Indian fashion industry in counterpart of the global scenario. Second point will be discussed to explain the growth rate of the Indian apparel industry, and the third is to find out the employment opportunity in Indian fashion industry. We discussed in the previous slides of the employability opportunity in growth a global scenario, but in this particular unit 4 we highlighted the employability opportunity Indian fashion industry. And after liberalizations, the government further designed the industry and initiated a progressive development of the sector, especially apparel sector. There are a lot of changes are there. If you see the after independence 47 onwards, decade-wise analysis report says it has been removed export barriers and slacks import duties, especially for exporters. So apparel exports grow a compound CAGR of 8% per year between 91 95. This is the 90s, during 90s. If you see after independence, the growth was slow, but slowly and slowly it increased and it come to 8%. But we come out at present of the other part of this world. If you see the slides, we set market size projections 2025 current scenario. 23 you see the European Union 27 351 people were segmentation was in fashion industry. It in comparison to you see 24 2050. But if you see the India part, that is huge increase 12%, and that is equal to China. So the growth of Indian fashion, particularly in the context of April market size projections, is highly optimistic, and it shows the Indian fashion industry is giving competitions to other countries as we shown like Australia or Canada or Brazil. You see the very less 2%, 3%, but we are competing with China while showing 12% compound growth rate. But if you see the rest of the world, also other countries also, it is only 3% and 5%. So this scenario shows, and it is very very good news for the learners who want to their career in this fashion design or textile industry sectors. They should go the particular programs. Lot of employability opportunities are there when the export increase. And we said four area is the designers, marketing people, retail people, and then we see the pattern maker, particular designing people. Then we are there looking and they see the fashion design products are being more demand. If industry export, then employability opportunity also improve because more demand of the your goods and services to the other part of the world as well. Second point which we explain here, if the same areas, and India's growth of Indian fashion projected change and per capita spend in India, the people spend 138. You see, in comparison to if you see Australia, more people spend 1643. That is in US $1 billion. That is per people capita people expenditure on apparel sectors, and India is very low. And in this way, that is increasing by slow if in comparison to China, and we are in last part. But we have to see the more population at present growing very fast. Our youth are asking more product in this particular apparel sector, which encourage and huge a very good news for the learners. Now, employability opportunities. Indian apparel industry is labor intensive like global industries, offering employability to opportunity over 45 million people directly in 60 million people industry. That is IBF report. And India enjoy comparative advantage in the industry due to supply of labor and relatively low cost of labor. So the government of India aims to achieve US 300 billions of textile export by 24-25 and create an additional 35 million job in textile sector. So job opportunities are huge, and we need to see what type of skills we have to specialize, because talent and skill and competencies all employer not only in these fashion industry sectors but in other sectors as well see two aspects. And future skills we are discussing here, that is problem solving skills, then communication skill and job specific skills. In fashion products, we highlighted 3-4 areas: the fashion marketing skills, and two, we also discussed the fashion retailing skills, then fashion designing skills. In last, we also let's say fashion communication. These also have a skills for the particular demanded in these sectors. So in this way, we have designed this particular program, and block one concluded with the remarks कि we sources of fabrics and the scenario of global scenario and national scenario of the fashion industry in the context of these particular sectors. I'm sure of the learners or viewers who are viewing these programs have enjoyed this particular session on introduction to fashion industry. Still you have an inquiry administratively or academically, you please email us, that is cfde@ignou.ac.in. In the next session, we will be discussing block 2 of course 3, that is also the part of market segmentation. Thank you.
the current global economy and digital era, learn or perish, is the order of the day for all adults in all sectors of life. As a result, adult education and lifelong learning have assumed great significance. IGNOU as a national university has played its role by way of coming up with the Master of Arts in Adult Education program, MAAE.
MAAE program focuses on different aspects of theory and practice, policies and programs, as well as research, among other things related to adult education.
MAE is a 2-year modular program with multiple entry and exit options. Students who complete first year of the program will be awarded with the postgraduate diploma in adult education. In case they want to continue, they will complete the second year program and they will be awarded with the Master of Arts in adult education.
MAE program consists of 10 courses, 5 courses in each year, 8 theory courses, 6 credits worth, and 1 practical course of 10 credits in the first year and 1 dissertation course of 10 credits in the second year.
Practical course of MAAE is divided into 3 components, namely community-based practical activities, workshop-based practical activities, and adult education training center or institution-based practical activities. And the student has to complete all the 3 components for completion of this practical course.
The minimum qualification required for admission to this program is bachelor's degree from any recognized university. The minimum duration is 2 years and the maximum duration is 4 years.
Instructional system follows multimedia approach. The major medium of instruction is self-learning print materials, which is supplemented by other media such as audio-video programs, broadcasting, that is interactive radio counseling, teleconferencing, personal contact programs or counseling sessions at the study centers, workshops and field work, as well as internship at the institutional level.
Those who
Welcome to this session on Fieldwork Practicum in the first semester of BSWG program. BSWG program has one Fieldwork Practicum in the first semester, which is BSWL 104. In BSWL 104, there are 25 days of fieldwork. A learner who is enrolled for this program needs to do this fieldwork practicum within the first semester of this program. So there are 25 days of fieldwork during the first semester. It consists of 5 individual conferences and 20 orientation visits in 20 different fieldwork settings. Now, fieldwork under BSWL 104 has to be conducted under the guidance of a professionally qualified social worker. The coordinator of the study center will provide the learners with an appropriate guide or fieldwork supervisor. Completion of fieldwork in BSWG first semester is mandatory before starting fieldwork practicum for the second semester, and so on and so forth. but learner may appear for the term end examination without completing the fieldwork practicum. In BSWG, learner has the opportunity to complete the course within a maximum period of 6 years, and the minimum period is 3 years. So if we look into the fieldwork practicum journal, which is provided to the learners, the first page is the face sheet. Face sheet is a very important document. It consists the profile of the student. The learner has to write in detail about himself, the name, enrollment number, the regional center, the address of the study center, and also the name and address of the agency where the learner is undergoing the fieldwork, also the name and address of the fieldwork supervisor and contact details of the fieldwork supervisor. It is very important to note that fieldwork practicum journal is a very important document, and it has to be kept very preciously in a safe place. It is advised that a separate personal diary is kept by the learner while doing the fieldwork. The learner may write important notings while conducting the fieldwork in the personal diary, and after the fieldwork of that particular day, the learner may start writing the fieldwork journal or the report of that particular day. So it is also suggested to keep a photocopy of the journal before the final submission. In case of an unforeseen event, that if there is any loss of the fieldwork journal, it is advisable that the learner keeps a photocopy of the journal. And also it is advisable to keep a acknowledgement slip after submission of the fieldwork journal. The journal is to be submitted to Student Evaluation Division by the Regional Center along with the evaluation pro forma, which is submitted by the supervisor. Let us come back again to the fieldwork practicum journal. After the learner finishes the face sheet of himself, there is another face sheet which includes the details of the fieldwork supervisor. It provides the profile of the supervisor, the name of the supervisor, from where the supervisor has completed the MSW degree, how long the supervisor is supervising in IGNOU, the BSW program, the students, and what is the qualification of the supervisor. So these kind of detailed information has to be provided by the fieldwork supervisor in the profile of the supervisor. Thereafter, the fieldwork practicum provides the certificate. This certificate is to be provided by the fieldwork supervisor or the fieldwork guide. So it clearly states that the supervisor has supervised the learner and he has adequately guided the learner for completion of 5 individual conferences and 20 orientation visits, and this certificate has to be provided by the supervisor. It has to be signed. Coming to the next component of the fieldwork journal, we have provided detailed guideline, a step-by-step process about how to go about the fieldwork. So once the student enrolls for the program, the student will be meeting the study center and coordinator for allotment of fieldwork supervisor. Fieldwork supervisor will conduct an induction meeting. Induction meeting will be conducted in the study center, and where detailed information will be provided by the supervisor as to how to go about the fieldwork during that semester. And once the induction meeting happens, the learner has to write the report of the individual conference. Individual conference is the one-to-one meeting that happens between the learner and the fieldwork supervisor. So space is provided in the fieldwork practicum journal. The report has to be written there. Then in the fieldwork BSWL 104, the first 5 orientation visits has to be conducted. The supervisor will help the student select fieldwork agencies or settings where the learner can do the orientation visits. Initially, 5 orientation visits needs to be done in 5 different settings, and thereafter the reports of the 5 orientation visits may be written. Then the learner meets the supervisor for the individual conference and write the discussion that is happening between the learner and the supervisor. It is very important for the learner to note that all the queries related to fieldwork practicum has to be discussed in detail by the learner in these individual conferences. After the individual conference, second, the orientation visits of 6 to 10 has to be completed, and again reports has to be written and individual conference has to be done. So in this way, 5 individual conferences has to be completed and 20 orientation visits in 20 different settings has to be completed. After the final individual conference, the final fieldwork journal has to be submitted to the fieldwork supervisor for final correction. There are certain guidelines for the learners which are also given in detail in the fieldwork practicum. It is very important for the learner to take the theory and the fieldwork seriously. So in BSW L104, learner will get an understanding about the various settings in social work. The learner should be able to understand where fieldwork is being practiced and which are the various settings where social work may be employed. It is also very important to understand the limitations. 15 days or 20 days of fieldwork is a very less number of days to understand the vast setting of social work to be employed. But so the limitations here is the student has to be very open about the agency, their working, and there are also certain limitations of their individual limitations, like the student or the learner may go to the field with their own preconceived notions. So all these notions has to be avoided. They should go to the field with an open mind and their judgment should not be biased. Also, there are certain limitations of the agency. So agency will have their different working timing and the learner has to follow the timings of the agency. And the journal, fieldwork practicum journal, which is provided to the learner has to be used very meaningfully. And it is also very important to note that fieldwork in BSWG program is mandatory, attendance is mandatory. So it is very important for the learner to meet the fieldwork supervisor regularly and take guidance while during their fieldwork practicum. Let us discuss now the details of the various fieldwork settings. So certain broad fieldwork settings are the health settings, which consist of the hospitals, community health centers, primary health centers, clinics. We also have civic administration like social welfare departments, education departments, health departments, municipal offices, panchayat offices, collectorates. Fieldwork may also be conducted in the educational settings like school, colleges, non-formal adult education settings, and of course there are open communities where one can undergo or observe the projects with women, children, projects on education, sanitation, potable drinking water, health, self-help groups, and community services. We also have correctional services where fieldwork may be done, of course with prior permission. Under correctional settings, we have the prisons, the police stations, homes established under the juvenile justice system, the training schools, and the administration of parole services. And also fieldwork settings include the program implementations like the midday meal scheme, immunization projects, family planning projects, projects on immunization, malaria, HIV, etc. Other fieldwork settings consist of the media houses like print media, newspaper, electronic media, TV, news channel, online media, government-owned, private-owned. Also, one can explore the faith-based organizations like churches, mosques, gurudwara, Ramakrishna missions, missionaries of charities, etc. And definitely fieldwork may also be done in the courts, family courts, district courts, sessions courts. Other fieldwork settings includes NGOs working with women, children, aged, and also NGOs working in the field of education. We also have protective homes like shelter homes for victims of prostitution, Nari Niketans, etc. Palliative care centers are there, hospice care centers, orphanages. Fieldwork may also be done in the home for destitute, disaster-afflicted refugees and migrants. We also have de-addiction and rehabilitation centers. There are homes for weaker sections like women, children, beggars, elderly, and of course, fieldwork can also be explored in the corporate sector, in the corporate social responsibility, which is a part of all the corporates. So, after understanding the various settings, the Fieldwork Practicum Journal presents a pre-term self-assessment form. So, this is a kind of a questionnaire which is provided in the Fieldwork Practicum Journal. This questionnaire is basically to have an understanding of what is the understanding of the learner in social work and especially in the fieldwork. It is important for the learner to fill up this form before going for the first meeting or induction meeting with the fieldwork supervisor. And the questionnaire is to be used for the purpose of testing the attitude, skills and knowledge related to social work. So here there is no marking done, there is no right or wrong answers, and learners are not evaluated on this basis. Next, the Fieldwork Practicum Journal provides a log sheet. So log sheet is kind of a attendance marking system where the learner will sign in the respective dates. They will write the date of induction meeting, the dates of the orientation visits, and the dates of individual conferences, and those columns should be signed by the learner and countersigned by the supervisor who is provided by the study center. So filling up of the log sheet is very important. Next, we come to the individual conference report. So as I mentioned earlier, individual conference is a one-to-one discussion between the learner and the fieldwork supervisor regarding the problems associated with fieldwork, how to go about fieldwork, and attending a minimum of 5 individual conferences are compulsory. Learner can of course write more than 5 individual conference reports, and this is basically to ensure that fieldwork happens under the guidance of a fieldwork supervisor, because unsupervised fieldwork is not accepted. So before starting the orientation visits, it is essential to meet the supervisor and also discuss regarding the organizations to be chosen for orientation visits. And here the learner has to discuss the process of fieldwork, the learning plan, how to write reports, etc. with the fieldwork supervisor. So the purpose of induction meeting is manifold. Induction meeting is done with the academic counselor or fieldwork supervisor allotted by the study center, and it is the responsibility of the learner to meet the supervisor and seek guidance for writing fieldwork, and the learner is supposed to prepare a draft of the fieldwork and then do corrections, show it to the supervisor, then mark the corrections and then copy in the final thing in the journal. And it is also very important for the learner to write the fieldwork practicum journal in his or her own words or language. So the report of the induction meeting consists of the date, time, name of the supervisor, the report, detailed report, the kind of discussions that happened, when was the report or the induction meeting happened, comments by the fieldwork supervisor, and then signature by the fieldwork supervisor. So now coming to the orientation visits, there are several objectives of orientation visits. Orientation visits enable observational skills of the learner. It develops a spirit of inquiry. It also helps the learner to understand the societal responses to social problems through various means. And it also helps the learner to understand, appreciate, and develop an ability to critically evaluate the initiative of voluntary and government programs. It helps the learner to develop an appreciation for social work intervention in these programs, or the strategies for solving the problem is very important. And orientation visits also enable the learner to find out the role of social worker and its relevance to the client's needs and the problem. The relationship between the micro problems and macro problems are explored during orientation visits, and also how far the organization's resources and the nature of interventions are appropriate, what are the gaps to identified, and what are the suggestions. So all these requirements or objectives are met through orientation visits. Now, how the report of orientation visits is written? First and foremost, the name of the organization or the name of the setting is important. One has to write the name of the institution, the address, what is the mission of that organization, objectives, institutional objectives, who are the people who are working in the organization, like chief executive officer or the board members, and what kind of programs the organization is running, and who are the beneficiaries for whom the NGO is working. So, number and nature of beneficiaries, and in which geographical area is the organization working, and whether the organization is registered or not. Then the learner has also to write this organizational structure. So one can explore the history of the organization also, when was the organization set up, and what were the major achievements, and what are the sources of funding. So what kind of infrastructure facilities the organization is having, like in terms of building, transport facilities, communication aids, the audio video equipments, and what is the relationship of the NGOs with other agencies, like other social welfare agencies, or relationship with the government agency departments, or relationship with the Panchayati Raj institutions, relationship with the other community-based organizations. So these kind of relationship can also be explored, and whether the organization is facing any problems, and what are the proposed remedies. So what are the future plans of the organization, and whether the organization has received any awards or recognition, whether it is affiliated or not, and any other information based on the observation of the learner. It is also very important that during the orientation visit, the learner should write about their own experiences and their observations. So what the learner learned from that particular day's visit, and any new knowledge or exposure, experience that the learner may have gained, and what is the experience of the learner in going as a team member for learning, because most of the time in the study center, students are going as a team, visiting the organization as a team of 3, 4, 5 people, students. So how was the experience about it, and what was the learner's observations about the agency, staff, and the particular day's activity. So this is a pro forma which is provided in the Fieldwork Practicum journal regarding the orientation visit. So one has to write the date, time, the nature of the organization, and the kind of work that was done in that particular orientation visit, and then the future plan, the learning objectives that the learner seeks from the supervisor. So these are the kind of details the orientation visit report one has to write in the report. So next comes, so here likewise 20 orientation visits in 20 different fieldwork settings or organization has to be completed by the learner, and the report, 20 different reports have to be written by the learner. So after all the reports of orientation visits are written, and all the reports of individual conferences are written, next comes the self-evaluation report. So self-evaluation report is very important. It is a brief report that has to be written by the learner regarding the fieldwork, the experience the learner gained during the first semester of the fieldwork practicum according to the set parameters, namely the knowledge, skills, attitude, and development of professional self. So since in the BSW first semester, the learners are going to the fieldwork for the first time, there may be many apprehensions about what is social work, how it is practiced, and what is expected of the learner, what are the objectives of fieldwork. And initially the learner may have no knowledge regarding fieldwork or social work per se. So the fieldwork practicum in the first semester is framed in such a manner that the learner gets adequate exposure of the different fieldwork settings. So while visiting these 20 different fieldwork settings, the learner is expected to gain certain knowledge about fieldwork practicum, about social work, the area of social work. The learner is expected to develop certain attitude, because initially as a fresher to social work program, there may be no attitude towards social work profession, but after visiting the 20 orientation visits, after doing the 20 orientation visits, the learner is expected to develop a certain attitude and also development of professional self. It is also very important that initially, what is professionalism? The learner may not have any idea of professionalism, but since social work is a professional course, so it is very important also to develop an attitude of professional self. And these reports, this kind of reflection is important. So the self-evaluation report by the student has to be written in terms of these parameters. So the format of the self-evaluation report is also provided. So the knowledge gained, the attitude developed, the development of professional self, all these categories are provided, and the learner has to write the report accordingly and get it, present it to the supervisor for correction. So then at the end of, after the self-evaluation report, the learner has to provide the summary report. So summary report of the whole, it is a gist of the fieldwork that has been done during the first semester. One has to mention the name of the setting and the date in which the fieldwork was done. So that is a summary report. And then there also the summary report of the individual conference. So here 5 individual conference minimum is expected. So the learner has to write the topic, the place that was discussed during this 5 individual conference and the date. So this summary report has to be written. Then again, there is a term and self-assessment form. This is the same questionnaire which was provided as pre-term self-assessment form during the beginning of the fieldwork practicum. And so after undergoing the 20 orientation visits, the same form has to be filled again. And before submitting the fieldwork journal to the fieldwork supervisor, the learner is expected to fill the term and self-assessment form. So learner has to compare the response they have written earlier and then in the pre and post self-assessment form. So this will give an idea to the learner about where they stand after the completion of 1 semester of the training in social work education and the training which includes both theory and practicum. And finally, there is a checklist before submission of the fieldwork practicum. The learner has to tick mark in this checklist. It consists of reading the program guide thoroughly, then attending induction meeting, attending individual conferences, attending orientation visits, and writing the self-evaluation report, filling up the pre and post self-assessment form, then also self-evaluation report, summary reports. So all this checklist has to be ticked and checked by the learner before final submission. So if there is further information required, learner can write to bswinfo@ignou.ac.in. So this session summarizes the fieldwork practicum journal, how to conduct fieldwork during the first semester of BSWG program offered by the School of Social Work at Indira Gandhi National Open University. Thank you.